Chris, you're so true. I mean, I imagine folks might be familiar with the concept of buyer's remorse when someone makes a purchase and they begin to doubt the decision they just made. What folks may not be as familiar with is the scientifically proven new hires remorse, where a newly hired employee begins to doubt the decision they just made to accept your job offer. So how do we counter that? Well, there's a number of ways, but the overarching umbrella of how we counter that is to communicate in the time period between accepting the offer and their first day on the job. Most firms, you accept the job and they say, great, what's your start date? Oh, I want to start on the 15th of next month. Great, we'll see you on the 15th. And nothing happens during that period. How would it be different if there were communications during that time frame that got people excited? Let me tell you quickly about one of the case studies in the book, a company called Impact. They're a great online marketing company. What Impact does with their new employees is once they accept the job, they say, awesome, there's a package coming in the mail to you tomorrow. People are like, tomorrow? I just accepted. A FedEx arrives the next day with their new computer, their new headset, everything they need to work. It's all ready to go. Because here's the thing, friends, you knew you were hiring for this position. Go buy the computer before they accept the job. It doesn't matter. You can send the same computer to different people if you go with a different candidate. But boom, they hit them with all the technology they need. And it also includes a note to say, hey, we'd like to introduce you to this person on the tech team who's going to do a call with you. Call them and schedule it. They'll get you all set up on the computer. Everything's ready to go. Okay, interesting. A couple days later, a second package arrives in the mail. This package is full of swag. New shirts, hats, fun, playful things that have the company brand, but are the kind of swag and clothing items you'd be comfortable wearing out in public, right? It's not a billboard for the company. It's tasteful, right? It's fun. So now you're part of the team because you've got the gear and you've got the clothes. Then there's a third package that comes. Yes, for those of you keeping score at home, there are 3 separate packages that come between the time you accept the job and the time you start the job. The third package includes 2 books. And they say to you, like, hey, here are the 2 books that create the foundation of our organization. These 2 books outline the principles of what we stand for. Your assignment for the first week at work is going to be to read these books. You're going to be sitting in the office reading these books. And at the end, we're going to have a book club discussion about it with your coworkers, talking about what you learned in the books. Because these are, they're, for lack of a better way of putting it, and forgive the analogy, they're the Bibles of our organization. This is what we come to. This is the foundational piece. So if you want to start reading in advance, you can. But it's not required because you're going to have time set aside at work the first week to read. Chris, a couple things happen. Number 1, this employee knows they're valued. Number 2, they immediately feel like they're part of the team. And number 3, if for any reason they're not the kind of person that is interested in reading books, they're not the kind of person who's interested in wearing, the brand where they work, we know before they start. They push back and say, you know what, actually, I made a mistake. I'd like to rescind my acceptance. Great. We found out before we wasted any more time. We found out before they came in and their attitude, or else, impacted anybody else on the team. So the question is, how are you communicating with people between the time they accept and the time they start to reaffirm their decisions?
That makes me think of Tony Hsieh from Zappos, where he pays individuals to leave, and if they're not happy and excited to be working with Zappos. And Joey, we've touched on some of the 8 phases, right? We've talked a little bit about access and accept, and maybe you can give me a quick summary of these 8 phases. And then I kind of want to, when we get closer to the end of this interview, want to talk about the adopt and advocate, because those are the phases that we want to end on as employers.
Absolutely. So I'll give you a quick overview. And friends, I'll try to make this quick. There's 8 phases. They all start with the letter A. It's kind of like if you gave a report card to your employees, they'd give you A's in all 8 subjects. Straight A's. That's what we're going for. So the first phase is that assess phase, where a prospective candidate's trying to decide if they want to work for you. They're checking out your job listing, their social media, they're on your website, on the About Us page, the careers page. They're going through your interview process. We then come to phase 2, the accept phase. In the accept phase, you make an offer to your desired candidate, and ideally they accept it. We then go to the third phase, the affirm phase, that buyer's remorse that we just talked about, but it's new hires remorse, where they begin to doubt the decision they just made. We then come to phase 4, the activate phase. This is the only phase in the 8 phases that is a single day. It's the first day on the job. And what are you doing to make that first day on the job epic? So remarkable, so special that they're still talking about the first day on the job years later. We then come to phase 5, the acclimate phase. And as a pro tip to everybody out there, this is where most organizations start to go off the rails. The acclimate phase starts on day 2 and it lasts for weeks, maybe even months, depending on the role in your organization. In the acclimate phase, we want to hold the employee's hand. We want to help them navigate. We want to teach instead of train. What do I mean by that? Teaching implies that when we're done, you have that knowledge forever. Training implies this is going to take rote repetition for a long time before we've conditioned you to have this behavior and to follow these steps. We then come to the accomplish phase, phase 6. In the accomplish phase, the employee achieves the goal they had when they originally decided to accept your job offer. Every employee has personal and professional goals that they're hoping will be easier to obtain due to their accepting the job offer. Do you know what those goals are? Are you tracking their progress towards them? Are you celebrating with them when they achieve them? If not, you won't have an effective accomplish phase. If they do accomplish their goals, they move on to the adopt phase. This is when someone becomes loyal to you and your firm. They're not picking up a call from a headhunter. They're not looking for other jobs. They are bought in, committed. And if, and only if, Chris, we've gotten them through all 7 phases, do we have the right, the privilege to invite them in to the Holy Grail, Nirvana, the final phase, the advocate phase, where the employee becomes a raving fan for us, singing our praises far and wide. They're writing reviews on Glassdoor and other review sites. They're going out and publicly recruiting people to join the firm. You have a job posting for a new position. They're coming to you with 3 stellar candidates that are ready to go. Why? Because they want their friends, their loved ones, the best people they've ever worked with to come work with you too. That's how bought into your mission they are. Last thing I'll say on the advocate phase, lots of times people say to me, well, Joey, we've got good advocates in our firm. I'm like, really? Can we look at the data? And here's how we measure it. Whenever you have a job posting for any position in your firm, how many of the candidates are referrals from your existing employees? If that answer isn't greater than 50%, you don't actually have advocates. You may have 1 or 2, but you don't have a lot of them. I want your people to be bringing the best people. If they're not, we've got work to do.
I couldn't agree more. And typically those referrals tend to be some of the best candidates because 100%. The individual that refers them, it puts their reputation on the line. And it's just an incredible scenario.
Chris, you're spot on. That's the thing. We fail to recognize the social capital that is expended when we make a referral. Somebody asked me on a conversation I was having the other day, they're like, Joey, what do you think about hiring someone that is the sibling of one of your existing employees? And I'm like, well, did the sibling refer their brother or sister to come work at the firm? And they're like, well, yeah. And I was like, do you have siblings? Like, if you're willing to vouch your name on your sibling's name, I think they're going to be an amazing employee. Because if they're not, and this person, please, siblings know where all the bodies are buried. They know all the truths. So I was like, if you've got a sibling making a referral, you are spot on that person is probably 99% of what you're looking for because the person would never put their name in the hat if they weren't.
I couldn't agree more. And I was kind of chuckling on the inside, thinking about that question, looking at it for myself in particular. We've covered so much great information here, and there's so many amazing tips and strategies. Just a couple final questions here, Joey, and I wanted to just lean into the remote side. COVID kind of changed the game. There's not as many people going to the commercial building. They're working from home. How does this all factor into the remote culture? Is one of your case studies is talk about this specifically? How do we make this work for the remote companies?
Chris, there are multiple case studies in the book that speak to this specifically. And what I would say is the landscape has changed. And for anybody waiting for it to go back, sorry, friends, it's not going to. I'm sorry. I understand the benefit of having it go back. I understand as a leader in your firm, you might want it to come back, and you might be frustrated by the fact that people aren't in the same office anymore. It's kind of like being frustrated that we don't use fax machines anymore. Let's be candid. The fax wasn't that great to start with. Why are we lamenting its absence? Working in a cubicle in the office wasn't that all cracked up to be everything it was cracked up to be. So why are we lamenting that? What I'd rather do is have people recognize that as the world increasingly moves to become more digital, more remote, more distanced, our opportunity is to make more of analog interactions, to make more of the in-person interactions. It used to be when the employees came to the office, let's be candid, we took them for granted. We expected them to show up every morning, stay all day, and leave that night. Now, if we've got employees coming, let's make it so there's a reason to come to the office. And that reason shouldn't be foosball tables and free lunch. Okay? Those are fine and those are dandy. But no one's sitting at home going, gosh, you know what I haven't done in a while? Played a game of foosball. Maybe I should go to work. Right? That's not how humans think. They're looking for connection. They're looking for personal and emotional growth. They're looking for meaning. Provide that. On the remote side, though, you can still connect with them while they're operating remotely. Here's something I find fascinating, Chris, and the lawyer in me really gets excited about this. So legally, anybody listening in the United States, if you're an employer, you have to know the home address of your employee. You're required to report that to the government for tax purposes. You often send them tax documents at home. You send them pay stubs, those type of things. Why is it that that's the only thing you ever mail them? Why don't you mail them gifts? Why don't you have somebody show up at the door with some presents for their kids or their spouse? Why not unexpectedly coordinate with their spouse? Oh, wait, you don't know if they're married or not or what their relationship status is? Are they really part of the family? Are you that personally connected? Or is this somebody that you're just counting as a number? Why not coordinate with their spouse and say, hey, Jenna has been working like crazy here for the last 3 weeks. She has been just crushing it and doing it, but we know we've been pushing it. So what I'd love to ask you is, where's her favorite place to take the whole family to dinner? Oh, loves taking us out to Olive Garden. That's our place. The breadsticks. We're all about the breadsticks. Let's do it. Great. We're going to treat the whole family to dinner at Olive Garden. We can do this one of two ways. Either I'll send you a gigantic Olive Garden gift certificate and you take the family and pay for it. Or if you want to tell me what your order is, we can have the order delivered for dinner tomorrow night as a surprise.
Amazing.
Folks, the investment of time and money that this takes is minuscule in comparison to the impact it would have on your team members.